Here we are. Usually the Wednesdays don't work for you, so I'd like to see it. Love it. All right, I'll share my screen quick.
I
Got some
gave up
fancy
on waiting for
graphics.
the Fridays to come back.
Yes, I know. Interesting enough, Friday was the one that people were complaining about because they like to go places and so on. I guess people have lives on Fridays, but something to consider. I prefer Friday myself. We'd have to rename the whole call though. Midweek momentum just doesn't work on Fridays. So here's the roadmap to a record-breaking year. How to reset recharge is first review your one major goal for the year. And if you haven't defined that yet, I'd encourage you to do so. Because if we don't know where we're headed, we generally are already there. I don't like people to obsess about, oh, I have X amount of pounds to get there. But I think you do need to at least have it in the back of your mind of what you're doing this for. And then more importantly, ask why twice or more. Really peel a few layers off the onion, understanding the real deeper motivation behind why you're trying to make these changes. Generally, losing weight isn't enough. Like, why are you losing weight, or why are you pursuing that goal? Who's got a good OMG or why that they'd love to share in the chat? That's what I want to hear. Oh, Cindy, welcome. Steve's here too. I think this is half the battle, is just getting super clear on where you're headed and why you're headed there. Okay. So don't overlook this part. Don't obsess about it, but at least get it down and write it. And then today we're going to talk more like, okay, now that you have your target, how do we chunk that down into 90-day benchmarks? And then most importantly, what are you doing day to day, right? Checking the boxes day to day. That's what's really going to lead to the ultimate transformation you want. Okay. So first off, I'm going to ask you to score yourself in our big 5 habits once you've gone through kind of the checklist here. So first one is CAP, nutrition. I tend to say 80% of the time, which is 6 out of 7 days of the week, if you're getting your gold bars, perfect. You're honestly a 5 out of 5 because it's a pipe dream to be 30 out of 30 on that. Steve's got an OMG. I like it. Then workout compliance. And the app will track this for me. I can see where you score on this based off when you do your workouts and if you achieve those 3 a week. Some people are at more than 3 a week, but hitting your targets there. Are you making up missed sessions on the weekend where necessary? You look back at your calendar, or you mostly checked off on your 3 workouts? Got Cindy sharing her OMG too. The OMGs are still coming in. Excellent. Then when it comes to water intake, I don't obsess about like having to be perfectly tracked 3 liters a day, but you know, are you parched? Are your lips chapped? Is your urine clear by mid-morning? Like you want to have your hydration high. And generally speaking, that's 2 to 4 liters a day, which is why we've come up with the 3L club as sort of your target. So review that. Then are your steps being hit? The 8 to 10,000 a day on average. Again, 6 out of 7 days a week, 80%. And then sleep 7 hours a night on average. So then out of 5, I just came up with some arbitrary scores here that we can go through. If you have a visual like this, you can kind of determine which one should be your priority. Okay, so if your sleep is a 2 out of 5, it's the lowest on the list, then we'll absolutely have to troubleshoot how to improve that. So which one is coming up as the lowest for you guys? Just type it below. CAP, workouts, water, steps, sleep. Generally, there'll be a theme. Yeah, Cindy, CAP is generally the bigger one. Comes up the most often. Keep them coming. We're going to troubleshoot the one I see is the most commonplace. Workout consistency. Sleep for Martha. Yeah, you typically hit everything. That's for sure. Nice. Okay, good. Keep those coming in. So what this does is just helps you identify the biggest bottleneck, the biggest boulder to push forward in the next month. Okay. So if it is CAP compliance, we want to kind of get the wheels turning as a group here of what helps you the most. For me, it's like mini meal prep. I don't like a full week's worth of meals already pre-planned, But a little bit on Sunday, a little bit on Wednesday seems to be able to tie me over to the next time, at least for my lunches, right? For dinner, we never make in advance. We use a menu board on the fridge and we try to plan, and it's not perfect. Half the time that menu board is empty, but at least we have some wheels turning and it's something we do together. Okay. If the bottleneck is like food tracking and being proficient in that, just get better at it, right? Like watch the trainings that Abby's built out. I can link you to some of those. Potentially pre-track your days. This is probably the biggest piece for many. It's just knowing what you're going to eat in advance ensures that your numbers end up falling where they should. What else works for hitting your cap? I'd love to hear a couple in the chat just to actually add to this list. So Steve is effective in prep and breakfast and lunch for the entire week. Awesome. Yeah, it's a little different if you've got, kids to accommodate still. You're trying to balance that out. No worries, Karen. No need to type at the traffic light. Good stuff. Prepping protein. Yeah, that's often the one that is the hardest to get on the fly, right? It takes time to cook any sort of protein. So having a couple different options. Generally, I do kind of two, like a ground meat and then either chicken breast or I've been doing lately flank steak I did the last time, but generally a couple options there. And then you can spice and season as you need per meal and make it taste different. Or use the guys at 2 for meal prep. I use those for my lunches. They're pretty helpful too. I like that, Steve, about the leftovers for lunch the next day. Good hack there. Cindy pre-tracks. And when traveling, have a number of go-to. Sean is our resident travel expert. So absolutely. All these are good things. So we'll definitely crowdsource these and add them to the list. Good stuff. Any questions, challenges on CAP that we can help navigate before we jump to the next? Abby, is there anything you see in client logs that jumps out as like a common challenge or mistake or bottleneck? Trying to think. I think oftentimes it's just like winging it too much. So that at the end of the day, they're trying to squeeze in protein and the macros are off. Whereas if they had used one of these tips, they'd likely had addressed that at the root.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I put in the chat keeping it more simple with one ingredient foods. I think that is a big one, is that there's a lot of overcomplication at the start, and I think the more simple you can make your meals, the better. Another one is, yeah, just thinking about prioritizing protein at each meal before you add anything else. Like center your meals around the protein source. And I think so that's a big one. And people are very, I don't know if they're funny or afraid that to use supplements. So I think like a ready-to-go protein shake or a pre-made shake to have with you with, a quick 30 grams of protein, like is absolutely okay if it gets you to your goals. I know we're talking about calories and protein, but I will die on the hill to say that planning ahead of time and seeing your numbers already hit before the day starts is the absolute, the biggest success I see with people is they're doing that. I don't know about you, Mitch, but I think when we go throughout our day and we're making decisions as they come, it's like we get decision fatigue. And then at the end of the day, they're always wondering why they're never hitting their numbers. Well, because A, you're waiting till the end of the day, so you're probably forgetting stuff. We're human. I've done it. And B, it's like your tracking is a lot harder when you're making decisions in the moment. To me, that's very stressful. That takes a lot of effort and time. When if you take 5 to 10 minutes at the night before to plan your next day, all you don't have to track anymore because it's the plan's already done for you. So that's like I said, I will die on the hill and say that the most successful people will already have their day planned before it starts. And it's not, we can't do that. I understand it's not like there are things that happen and I get it and we have to adjust and adapt, but If you do that most of the time, you plan ahead, it's like, I think you call it a game of Tetris, like getting your portions down, all these things, like learning that and structuring your day before it starts. I mean, I'm sure a lot of you do that in your work life. You have meetings, you have calendars, you have things that are planned in advance. You have your workouts in advance, you know what you're doing, so why not treat your nutrition the same way?
Amen to that. Yeah. And the argument that it takes too much time, I find it takes more time on the fly to like, oh, if I got to figure out this and mix and match. Whereas if I already have it kind of pre-logged for the day, I'm just executing on what I've
Yep,
already kind of punched in. So
yep.
yeah, I think that argument even still is null and void. So good, helpful tip. The more you can plan in advance, the better off you be. And don't be shy to include, food science has done a lot of bad, but in terms of good is the whey proteins, complete source of protein, good for your immune system. It's hard to get any better macro split in whole foods because it's, so few carbs and fats in your average whey protein. And those who say it's processed and harmful are then drinking alcohol. And then, obviously, you know, obviously at that point it's null and void. So good stuff. Let me get this back on. We got a couple in the chat here, but I can't see it properly. Tetris, like food tracking Tetris. Yes. Avoid that at all possible. Okay, moving on to steps. So this is a big one. People always say, I don't have time. You want to make time because it definitely supports fat loss, but the more you walk to a point, the longer your life, the better your quality of life. So it's worth putting the time in here. You get a 10x return on it in terms of quality years. So what I do, this is just my short list, is I do a 10-minute walk sometime in the morning and sometime in the evening, usually after getting a bit of work done. I like to just jump in, but then I need a little mental break, 10-minute walk and get the kids ready for school. And lately I've been just adding 10 minutes on the treadmill after my workout, fitting that in. And then ideally I commit to one call while walking. Now, obviously, if you're sharing screen and on Zoom, doesn't make sense logistically, but if it's a call that just requires your voice, audio only, I would encourage you to try to move while you do that. And then for those who like to veg out, watch a show or two at night, just have it stack it, movement and watching your show. So you get something pleasurable while getting your steps in. Anything to add on that? I'd love to hear it in the chat. We've got a 1 hour binge on your treadmill, Steve. Nice. Okay. Walking tread and standing desk, Martha. Good. And I think there's something to be said, even when it's cold out, to get some sun exposure, get outside. We're meant to be in nature and we feel better when we do it. Sean says walk upstairs. Yeah, park at the end of the lot. Lunchtime walk. So the lunchtime walk thing is coming up. Okay. I like that. Break up your day. You're more productive in the afternoons. And Cindy likes to be inefficient. Yeah, that's a key word because the whole world is set up to be super efficient, make things easier. We want to actually make things harder when it comes to our movement. So good one. Anything else? I'll consolidate these into a list, but in terms of space on a PowerPoint slide, I had to cut it down. Okay, sleep quality. So you've all heard the standard tips of, keeping your sleep environment optimized, blackout curtains, cool room. Everyone's definition of cool is a little bit different. Potentially a white noise fan, you even travel with the mini one. That's made a huge difference for me in hotels because slamming doors and random noises that I'm not used to can wake me up. Now I sleep right through it. So someone could break in and stab me before I even know it, but at least I'm getting my deep sleep. So it matters. For me, I try like heck to get the devices off an hour out from bedtime because it seems to naturally just slow my brain down and get me in the mood for sleep. And where we go from here is really up to you. Evening relaxation can look differently for everybody. Some people like to go for a little walk. Some do a hot shower or bath, read, herbal tea. Drop your go-tos in the chat because everyone's a little different when it comes to sleep and what works for them. Oh, interesting, Martha. So you're the opposite of me, is you need dead quiet to sleep. Stretch, shower, read, Steve. Sleep like a rock. Beautiful. Some have to go the sleep aid route. Uh, there is the over-counter ones that work okay for some. I like magnesium regardless because it has a lot of other benefits. It can help relax you before sleep. Melatonin is really hit or miss. CBT, same thing. Didn't work for me at all, but some people swear by it. So our brain chemistry is so different that you kind of have to work with a bit of trial and error here. But that's what this is all about, is trying to get as many tips as possible people can use, and not to overthink it either, because you can end up creating more of a problem. I've certainly done that in the past. Ex-Army can fall asleep anywhere. Okay, there's the key, Steve. Is enlist for at least a year or two, and you'll be a good sleeper regardless. Nice. Anyone else? We got Chris that jumped in on the call. Good stuff. All right. Moving on then to workout adherence. So for me, this has never really been a big challenge. I really enjoy my workouts, but anytime I have a change in my schedule, I have to kind of force it for a little bit. And for me, what works best is setting it up as a non-negotiable appointment in my calendar, like anything else. It's better if it's kind of a set time daily. So you get in the habit of, okay, this is workout time. I'm not going to negotiate with myself. Gym clothes are there at the ready and get it done, right? But life happens, and sometimes you have to move things around. That's okay. The 10-minute rule can be helpful. If you're really in a low motivation wise, just say, I'll do 10 minutes. Even if I have to cut it short, that's still a win. Most of the time it snowballs though, right? Once you've committed to do it and you've started, oftentimes you can finish it. Yeah, Sean, the challenge is always starting the workouts. Martha says getting up first thing, getting it done. I think that eat the frog mentality is where most people prefer it, because you never know what the day is going to present if you try to push it off. And yeah, try to think long term of why I'm doing this. The short-term pain, long-term gain is truly the key to this puzzle. Anything else? What works for you guys to get super consistent with your workouts? First thing in the morning, feel better. Rest of your day goes better. You get a quick win. I think that's jumping out the most here, so I'll add that. Eat the frog first thing. I actually prefer it midday. For many years, I had to do it first thing in the morning when I was moonlighting as a security guard going to school. It just didn't make sense any other time of day. But I forced it for a few years, and now I prefer it as like a midday reset, and I get some energy from it. And my afternoon is kind of set up for success. But I know not everyone has that luxury. Yeah, meet someone, a workout buddy. That can be a tool as well, Cindy. Okay, keeping her going. On to water intake. Throw in your tips in the chat. For me, I like to get a liter in before coffee. There's been some science lately that says you should delay coffee for XYZ reasons and you avoid the afternoon crash. I haven't found that to be the case. And there's been some science that's refuted that. So I get my coffee in right away. Before I do, I drink a liter of water to kind of rehydrate from the night. I do drink with meals. You'll see some science that says drinking with meals dilutes the food. Again, that's largely an old wives' tale. And during your workout, obviously, is a real important time to get in enough water and then taper off after dinner. I know some people, especially as you get older, frequent urination at night. We want to avoid that. So try to get your 3 liters in around 8 p.m. or sooner, right? Okay. Some good tips again coming in. Gallon jug goes everywhere with Steve. Full water bottle. Yeah. Amazing how much water you drink without even thinking about it. Exactly. It becomes a habit, but you got to force it at first if it's not something you do. And just avoid the plastic if at all possible. more and more evidence that plastic water bottles are one of the worst offenders of microplastics. We don't really know the impact that has on our health, but we can guess that probably having a bunch of plastic in our veins is not ideal. Footnote, I always get asked this is like tea, coffee, diet drinks do count towards your water intake. They're brewed with water, right? But we tend to recommend no more than half your water intake from those sources. Good. And then set that goal, 3 liters. I don't count the water from food, Cindy. In theory, yeah, watermelon especially would probably have a lot of water. But we tend to, I don't know if there's a reason for that. I just never counted it. Okay. Good stuff. Any others? Drop them below. We are zoomed in here. Is that the last one? Have we done 5? I think so. Alrighty. Just like that. So what jumps out? What are you focused on in terms of those 5 areas going into March and the months ahead? If you didn't share it off the top, share it below in the chat or unmute yourself and ask away as well. Go ahead, Sean.
I'll just talk to the cascading effect of I've been really good at being consistent, and I got off my cap here the last few weeks, and then everything went for shit. Sorry, I shouldn't use bad words, but it's easy if you're always on track all the time, and then once you, basically for me the last few weeks to let one piece slide, and I've been a mess here for 3 weeks, but here I'll just say I'm 2 days perfect, and we're going for 3 today.
That's it. Get the check marks going back in the right direction, and soon enough it becomes a habit. But yeah, welcome to the club. We all have those times where a few bad days cascade into a few bad weeks, and it's all about resetting as quickly as you can. All right, Steve, I won't repeat that, but I like it. Anything else, guys? We got disconnecting from electronics earlier. I like that. So just share your tip for your workout, Steve. Like which one is going to help you implement? That's kind of the big takeaway here is what's the action step? Anyone else? Cindy, you're dialed in on cap. What's the one action step to help hit your numbers a bit more often?
I struggle with the calorie side of it. It took a while to get up to the protein numbers, and I'm doing that now. But gee whiz, I always miss my calorie cap by a few hundred, and I don't know. It's lacking sometimes, but it's really hard for me to try and drive that down for whatever reasons.
Yeah, you're not alone there, and your buffer is less than, say, a guy that's 230 pounds or something, right? Just what you require in a deficit is less, and hunger adjusts, relatively speaking. But yeah, there's not a lot of room for error there. I'll look a little closer at your food logs and see if we can make a couple tweaks that will help. Is it more a hunger issue or social events or?
I try to measure that. Like when I feel like oftentimes it's an evening snack. And so before I go to eat anything, I usually go, is that my mouth or my gut talking to me?
Mm-hmm.
And I can figure that out, but then I still eat it. So this is the weakness in the evenings. So when you're asking what we're going to do, I was thinking maybe I would focus on sleep and get myself out of the evenings so that I wouldn't be snacking late at night. So that's a 2 for maybe.
Yeah, unless you're a sleep eater, you can't eat while you sleep. So that is the key. Go to bed earlier, brush your teeth, go to bed. I like it. Steve, sorry, go ahead.
Hey, Cindy. I just listened to a Mel Robbins podcast, and she suggested, not she, but the guy she had on suggested there's 3 F's around food and breaking the habit cycle. And so and I find myself doing this because I have this wonderful leather recliner that I love to watch Netflix in. But I'll get to the point where same thing, it's mentally, oh, it's 8:30. Oh, I could have a snack now. Oh, wait, maybe not. So it was um, feel. So how are you feeling at that point? So is it I'm hungry, or is it just a habit that I typically eat? So it's an awareness there. First one was the feel. Was the second one? Um, Shoot, I forget what the second one was. The second one was basically break the habit. So if you're in that one place, just move to another place, which will break the cycle, or maybe do something different for like 5 minutes, and it'll break the cycle. And then the third one, of course, is the food. Okay, well, if you've gone through all that and you're still hungry, okay, well, what is it you're going to eat? So, what's the low carb option? What's the low fat option? What's the, whatever it is. And, instead of eating a bowl of ice cream, maybe you have a spoonful of ice cream. Those were the three things, but it was the first two that actually broke the habit. And I've been working on that this week, and it it works for me. But so just a recommendation to break the habit up here
Yeah,
a little bit.
that's worth trying. Thank you. I'm going to try that.
Yeah, it's the whole routine reward, what we feel we get out of eating the food, and there's an initial cue, then there's the routine, then there's the reward. Charles Duhigg, I think it's kind of the habit cycle we get stuck in. So it's trying to replace the routine with something different. Instead of snack food, could it be a walk? Could it be something different? A tea? And then we get a bit of a similar reward from that. So along those lines, it's just trying to break that cycle. Go ahead, Sean.
I was just going to say that what's worked really well for me, and because I'm a math numbers guy, is what's my protein ratio? So right now my cap is 0.8 grams of protein for every 10 calories that I eat. So if you pick up a protein bar and it goes, 200 calories, 20 grams of protein, that's going to get me a little ahead of my protein. If you pick up something else that says it's a protein bar and it's 200 calories and 10 grams of protein, it's going to put you behind. But if you kind of keep that in the back of your head through the day, or and chicken breast, just as a comment, is basically 2 grams of protein per 10 calories. Like, chicken breast is like, the every chicken breast you eat lets you eat other stuff with no protein in it. But if you kind of keep an idea through the day, hey, I'm making this decision now. What's the protein load of what I'm eating now, and how's that going to hit me later? That's worked really well for me.
All a numbers game. Awesome. Yeah. And we all know this, but it's still a challenge, Cindy, at night. So trying to fill up, maybe conserve more calories from the earlier part of the day for dinner. That's a slippery slope, but that works better for some, where you have a big meal and then you don't feel quite the need to snack afterwards, or you still have some calorie budget to snack, something in moderation, and your numbers will line up better that way. Yeah. Lots of trial and error, but let me know how it goes. Yeah, Sean. That stuff has to be out of the house, because nothing happens in moderation with those two things. So if I know I'm going to indulge in those, it's going over, no doubt. It's good stuff. Abby, I know you're unmuted. Do you have anything to add to that?
Oh, yeah, I'm going to come at this from a little bit of a different angle, Cindy. I'm going to ask you, why do you think you can't snack after dinner, and why don't you put something there because you're always doing it?
Hmm. It's unplanned. Most of those snacks are, I think I've got it buckled up. I'm good for the day. And then the stimulus comes, or I see, well, this whole cleaning up the house, I might see something around the house, and there will be some kind of stimulus, and it's unplanned, and that's where I just fall off. So the pre-planning,
So why can't we plan for a snack after dinner?
oh, I see what you mean.
Yeah.
And then I could do what Sean was saying, find something that that actually fits.
So I'm always a person of like, know my strengths and work with my weaknesses. And I love having I love having dessert every night for after dinner. I love it. I'm not going to change it. I like to eat more later in the day. So I go a little bit lighter. My first, second, third meal, that's where I get all, high protein vegetables. And I always look forward to that thing
Mm.
after dinner. I'm always putting it there. So it might be, another way to look at something like, why are we trying to avoid something that maybe we actually do enjoy and that we can actually fit into our plan? If you feel like you're more hungry, in the evening, or you feel like you are wanting that snack, like you might find that if you plan the snack after dinner, and maybe we find somewhere during the day where maybe you're not as hungry, or we're just like Sean said, going a higher protein, yeah, lean into it. Like Steve just said, lean into that. Like if this isn't a constant issue, maybe we need to look at, well, I need to avoid that. And it's like, well, how can I work with it?
Mhm. That's a good way to switch it. Mm.
Yeah, calorie backloading. Like it doesn't really so much matter when you eat within reason. Like those 24 hours, you have X amount of calories to work with. So how you budget or structure it is totally up to you. Like I have, what are we at? 12:30. I've had a smoothie that was maybe 500 calories and nothing else so far. And I'm more focused on my work, so I don't really need to have big meals at this time of day. But as soon as I'm done work, dinner, I want a big meal because I know I'm going to be hungry at that point. And I always have a fudge bar or something afterwards, and it's within my numbers and I don't really sweat it. And I'm not trying to grin and bear it until bedtime. So
And
yeah, what
yeah,
Abby
and
said is nailed
I
it.
think that normally, like, I think that's just a normal, I don't know if behaviors that a lot of times we do crave something a little bit sweeter, something after dinner. And so it's like, well, we can still do that. And I think that, well, men and women, but I think a lot of women feel like they can't eat before bed. I can't eat before bed. Like we've been told, like snacking is bad. We can't do this. We can't do that. And so we have this like negative thought process. If I eat after dinner, like I'm doing something bad, and it creates this like I shouldn't be doing this. Where it's like Steve said, I just reframed it where it's just shifting your like lean into that and be like, you know what, it's okay that I have maybe a Greek yogurt and fruit after dinner, or this piece of chocolate. Like it's just like an 8-year-old child or 6-year-old child. When we say no, you can't have that, we just want it more and more and more, and we keep doing this behavior. So I think when you're in control and you're planning it and you're putting it there, it's going to create a different mindset for you, and you'll probably start hitting your cap more frequently.
Yeah, just reserve some calories so that I can use them in the evening. That's okay. I'm going to try that. That sounds really good. Yeah. Thank
That's
you.
it.
Yeah.
Beauty. Awesome. A lot of good conversation today, guys. I think we're a little over time, and that's cool. Anything else that we can help you with? We've all got our action steps to better adhere. That slight percentage is all we're looking for, right? 1% better, as cliche as it is, that's truly the process. Okay. Well, we can leave it there for this week. Let us know in the app if you have any questions that dive deeper on what we've shared here. That's what we're here for. And oh, Martha, we'll actually close off and then we'll reconnect for our chat with you guys. All right. Talk to you guys soon. Cheers.